Alrighty, today we have part 2 of testing out the patch, and we're going to start things off by just getting right into it. If you have enjoyed my content before, make sure to subscribe, turn on the notifications, and give this video a thumbs up. Alrighty, so what we have right here is before the patch. This is before they made any adjustments to the warriors, the brood commanders, and their nursery spewers. Now, if you don't know, they basically made it so that it's harder to set enemies on fire. Again, this is before the patch. So, to be honest, I'll tell you this right here and right now, I have no idea if there's a big difference between before and after the patch. I couldn't tell. I've seen a lot of comments saying, hey, they nerfed the Coyote, what's going on? Well, to some degree, technically they didn't nerf it. It's kind of like a loophole of nerfing, if that's a way of saying it. They basically nerfed it, but they nerfed all the other fire damages. But this is only if you're attacking enemies that are harder to set on fire, like the ones I mentioned. Anyways, what we have right here now is going to be a test with the SMG, specifically the Night SMG, and this thing is incredible. It obliterates impalers within seconds. One full magazine will destroy one impaler. Next, we have the Charger, and this right here is also great. I mean, you can tell that I'm targeting the abdomen, and I'm going to unload about a magazine and about a quarter of a mag. When it comes down to the hulks, it's a half mag for the Night. And finally, we have the flesh mobs. Very cool right here, by the way. It only takes half a mag, essentially, to destroy one freaking flesh mob. The second SMG on the list is the MS7 SMG from the Halo ODST Warbond. I'm going to unload one magazine towards the abdomen, then unload a second one. Technically, I'll have some ammo left over to dish out on some additional enemies. The second enemy we're testing it out on is the Impaler. It's nothing crazy like the Night, but it's still useful. We'll unload one magazine towards the front top portion of the Impaler's head, and then I'll come back and unload the second magazine, and you can tell right there it was just a sliver of the second mag. Now, when using the MS7, it's just like the Night. You're going to have about half of a magazine if you were to target the backside here of the Hulk, and we then have the flesh mobs. It's going to take a total of 2 magazines. You're going to dish out your first mag, then you're going to fire at the rest of the body parts here. Basically target the heads and then target the main body and you're good to go. The third SMG on the list is the Reprimand. You just need one magazine to destroy the abdomen on a Charger and it'll go down. For those that don't know, yeah, you can do that. It'll take out a Charger easily. The second enemy is the Impaler, of course. We're going to unload one magazine. We're going to have to reload, then come back and target the top portion of the head. And yeah, it's going to take about a magazine and a sliver of the second mag. When it comes down to the hulks, you're going to unload about half of a magazine towards the battery pack and it's finished. And then we've got the flesh mobs. It's pretty cool here. It's not like the Night, of course, yet it's still useful. You'll unload all of your ammunition on the heads, then lastly target the body, and it'll take about 2 magazines, and that's pretty much all you need to do. The third SMG is the Defender. What I'll do here is throw a stun so I can target the back portion, you know, the abdomen, and I actually sped up the clip here a little bit so you can just get right into the action and you can see what's going on. But yeah, 3 magazines in total is enough to destroy the abdomen, so nothing too crazy there. When it comes to the Impalers, it's actually surprisingly good. You'll unload one full magazine towards the top portion of the dome, and then unload your second magazine to the top portion, and it's about a magazine and a half. For the hulks, same as usual, half a magazine. So the Night, the Defender, and the MS7 is about half a magazine for the Hulk. And for the flesh mobs here, it's going to be a total of 2 magazines, maybe a third one if you're missing some shots. Other than that, that's really it. I mean, it's not too crazy, it's not too insane, but it's still useful. Next, we have the Pummeler. So the Pummeler is actually good. It's better than the Defender in terms of like blowing up the back portion of the abdomen. It takes 2 magazines, unlike the last SMG where we had to dish out 3 magazines in total to actually destroy the Charger's backside here. I know that sounds very awful to say. Anywho, we've got the Impaler. We're going to load one full magazine to the top portion. Remember to always target the top, and then unload your second magazine, and that'll do it. It's about 2 magazines. Maybe you'll have a sliver of a magazine left to dish out on additional enemies. And then we have the Hulk. It's about a sliver of a magazine or a quarter of a mag left. Then the flesh mobs. Nothing too crazy here to go home and talk about. I mean, it's great. You can take it out. I would rather use the knight or maybe a stalwart. I think that would be a better option in this case. Okay, the last SMG to receive a buff is the StA SMG from the Killzone crossover. You know the deal. We're going to load one magazine, go back to the back portion of the abdomen, and load another magazine. So it's a magazine and about a half almost. What about the impalers? It's not too bad either. We're going to load one magazine to the top portion. We're going to go around because, you know, the tentacles and whatnot. Unload one magazine and then unload the second magazine. You'll have about a sliver of an ammo left. And for the Hulks, it's a half mag, just like the other SMGs. And then we got the flesh mobs. Unload one magazine, then unload another, and it'll go down easily. Just remember to target the heads and then the body. Let's now switch things up and talk about the shotguns. First up is the Plasma Punisher. This right here is amazing. 6 total shots to the backside, and that's enough to demolish a freaking charger. It's amazing. We're going to go on and talk about the Impaler because it's almost the same situation here. We're going to target the top portion of the head, unload 6 shots, and then unload a 7th shot to take it out. Now, the Hulks is a different situation here. You're going to want to aim for the battery pack as best as possible. 4 total shots, that's it. Easy stuff. And of course we have the flesh mobs to talk about. So you're gonna see right here, I'm gonna load a full-size magazine, and that's enough to take it out. The second shotgun is the last shotgun on the list to receive a buff, and that's the Slugger. We're gonna unleash an entire magazine towards the backside, the abdomen, and that will be enough to take it out. Basically that's all you need to do. I think it's great. What's even better is actually unloading 5 shots to the top portion of the Impaler's head and taking it out quickly. I love it. And when it comes down to the Hulks, it's a similar situation here, except you're going to unleash or unload 2 more shells into the backside, and that's it. That's completely it to destroy the battery pack on the Hulk. And we, of course, have the flesh mobs. I'm going to speed up this clip quite a lot. It's not amazing to use on flesh mobs. You're going to be using up a lot of ammo. I had to use up an entire magazine and then about 2 shots on my second magazine. With the shotguns out of the way, we have the assault rifles. First, the Liberator. We're going to use up 1 magazine, go directly back to the same spot that we've been firing at for the last 7 minutes. And we're going to basically just use up a magazine and a half of a magazine. So technically 2 magazines in total. And the Impaler, just unload an entire magazine to the front. That's it. I mean, literally, so quick. Let's talk about the Hulks, because I think you guys might be interested in this. It's a half a magazine, and it'll go down. Just make sure to target the battery pack. And then we got the Impalers here, or excuse me, not the Impalers. That would be crazy to see that. We've got the flesh mobs. Unload 1 magazine, and then half a magazine, and it'll go down. The second AR is the Liberator Carbine. And to be fair, it's just like the Liberator. I mean, literally, it's just like the previous weapon. You're going to see similar results here. A magazine and about a quarter of a mag. So yeah, there's really not a huge difference. They both have the same damage, except this one shoots way faster, and you're going to be able to take enemies out quicker. And I think that is basically the main difference between the two, right? There's nothing incredible here. It's not like there's a big difference except for the rate of fire and just taking out enemies quickly. And you can see, again, it's just like the previous weapon results with the Liberator. Okie dokie, so we've got the third weapon here on the list, and this is the Liberator Penetrator. To be fair, I love the Liberator Penetrator. That is until the Coyote showed up. Anyways, with that being said, it's not amazing to use on the Chargers. You're going to use up basically 3 magazines. Essentially, you'll have like about a sliver left. And it's just not that great. Same thing when using it on the Impalers. You're going to use 1 magazine, and then you're going to have to use about a half of the second magazine, and that's enough to take it out. Not incredible. And I used to love the Liberator Penetrator so much. But yeah, I don't know. Nothing too crazy to talk about here. I think it's a great weapon in general. just not the best anymore when you have the Coyote. Maybe some of you will disagree. Some of you might agree with me on this. Alrighty, the next assault rifle is the Liberator Concussive. Is it good or is it bad? It's not bad at all. You can unload a full drum magazine to the backside here, unleash an entire magazine onto the back, and it'll blow up. Easy stuff. Are there better options? You guys have seen the results. There definitely are some better weapons out there. Anywho, what we have here is an Impaler. We're going to load a full magazine. Then we're going to have to come back and dish out a little bit more damage to finish it off. So just pretty much whip out a big load right onto the Impaler's head. And then we have the Hulk, half a magazine of a Concussive. It'll go down. But what about the flesh mobs? It's a little bit tricky here. It's not incredible. You can still take it down. Again, I think there are better options out there in terms of taking out the Impalers, but a full drum magazine and a little bit more ammo afterwards is enough to take it out. So let's now talk about the fifth weapon, the Tenderizer. All they did here with the Tenderizer is increase the durable damage, and that's all they really did. However, I feel like it's worth showcasing what you can do with this in terms of like how many magazines it takes to destroy the side here. It's 2 magazines, essentially 1 magazine and a half of a magazine. Next up is the Impaler. Just unleash 1 full entire magazine and that's enough to take it out. Remember to target the top portion of the head. You exactly want to aim there. And then for the Hulk, it's half a magazine, just like we've seen with the SMGs and the assault rifles. And then we got the flesh mobs. Unload 1 magazine. You're going to see that I'm targeting all the heads. Remember, that's the key thing here. We have to target the heads and then the main body so we can finish it off. Coming in at number 6, the Pacifier. So I just want to quickly point this out. I understand that it has received a stun boost, essentially, right? They've increased the stun value. However, for video purposes, I'm just showing you how strong it is against larger enemies like the Impalers, the Chargers, Hulks, and so on. I will get into the major parts with the stunning here in a second. Other than that, you could tell that it took a lot of magazines to destroy 1 Charger. And it's a little different here with the Impalers. It's 1 magazine and another magazine to destroy the Impaler, to blow up the front portion. And that's really it. It's not incredible by any means when it comes down to targeting these larger enemies. Next, we have the Hulk, and to be fair, you're better off using some of the other assault rifles because you'll see right here, it took an entire magazine just to destroy the battery pack, which isn't too good. And if we're talking about, you know, larger enemies like the Impalers and Hulks, we have to talk about the flesh mobs. It's going to take a lot of ammo to take out 1 flesh mob, and I think there's better options out there. Again, this weapon is primarily used for stunning enemies rather than taking out larger enemies, but for video purposes, I just want to showcase what's going on here. The last and final assault rifle buff is the MA5C Assault Rifle from the Halo ODST War Bond, and I'll be honest, guys, I think it could use a little bit more work. I mean, it's a legendary War Bond, it should be legendary, but it still feels like it's not there just yet. These are slow improvements that the developers have made to it. I think it could definitely use a little bit more work. It took 3 magazines to destroy the backside, and this one right here for the Impaler took 2 magazines, and then for the Hulk, it's almost an entire magazine to destroy the battery pack. I know there's a better word for it, heat sink, whatever. Anywho, the flesh mobs are next, and 3 magazines is enough to bring down a flesh mob. Again, not legendary by any means. Sometimes it feels like the weapons we have right now, the ones that we just covered, are way more legendary than the MA5C. You can either agree with me or disagree. Let me know your opinions. The last and final buff right here for the primaries is the last 16 Sickle. They increased the damage by 5 digits. It's 60, and the durable damage went up by 1 point. It takes a lot of ammo just to destroy the orange squishy part, aka the abdomen. I wouldn't suggest using the Sickle on larger enemies. Perfect for smaller enemies and medium-sized enemies, just like all the weapons we covered. Those are great. But again, for video purposes, I'm only showcasing how well or how effective these weapons are on larger enemies like Impalers, Hulks, and so on. And for this video right here, or this clip right here, it didn't seem like it took too much to take down the Impaler like it did with the Charger. It took way more shots for the Charger to go down than it did with the Impaler. Same situation with the Hulk, and the same situation with the Flesh Mobs. I will say this right away. I think there are better options out there in terms of taking out Hulks, Flesh Mobs, and all the enemies we're covering right now. With the primaries out of the way, we're now going to go over the secondaries. First on the list is the Redeemer. 4 magazines in total, and that'll bring down a Charger. If you're going to target something larger like the Impaler, aka the Charger's stepsister, not sure if that's a good way to say it, it takes 2 magazines. That's it. And if you're going to target the Hulk, 1 magazine. And then we got the Flesh Mobs. Flesh Mobs, not bad. I wouldn't suggest it. I would rather use like a primary, perhaps, you know, I don't know, a Tenderizer or maybe even the Coyote. Coyote would be a great choice. Next, the P113 Verdict. They increased the damage to 135, and they also increased the drag. You're going to use up about 2 magazines to take down 1 Charger. Not too bad. Same situation applies with the Impaler. 2 magazines is enough to blow up the face here. You'll see right here in this second clip, and there we go. Anyways, the next enemy is the Hulk. You'll use up an entire magazine and then 1 more shot, and that'll bring it down. And we, of course, have to try this out on the Flesh Mob for whatever reason. You can tell on the bottom it took an entire magazine, like 4 magazines, and it still didn't do anything. I wasn't able to bring it down. Continuing on, we have the third secondary, which is going to be the M5C Assault, and they increased the damage by 10 digits, so it's 110, and they also increased the drag to 1.2. Nevertheless, you could tell in the previous clip, 3 magazines was enough to bring down a Charger. If we're going to target something larger, like the Impaler, it's going to take a little bit more ammo, 4 magazines essentially. The Hulk, on the other hand, it's going to require you to unload 1 magazine and then about a second magazine here, about half of the second magazine. We gotta talk about this Peacemaker here. It's actually better than you would imagine, right? And all they did here with the Peacemaker is increase the damage to 95. They increased the durable damage to 30, and they also increased the drag to 1.2. And you can use it to take out a lot of enemies. And you might be wondering why I didn't showcase the Flesh Mobs. The reason why is because it's just not worth it. You're going to unload so many magazines. You're better off using a primary, so I won't waste your time there. I just want to show you how effective this is. Moving along, we're going to briefly go over the Saber and all of the other melee weapons that received a buff. The Saber is by far the best melee in my opinion. You might feel different about it. They increased the damage to 125, and it's great. And I mean absolutely great for taking out like enemies and hordes. How fast it is and the damage increase makes it incredible. The Hatchet, on the other hand, is just not it, guys. I mean, you're going to get swarmed, and it's hard to take out multiple enemies. Same thing with the Machete. Granted, the Machete does have medium armor penetration, so that is amazing about it, and they have increased the damage to 200. But again, I feel like the melees in general could use a lot of work. Maybe a melee slot that everyone has been requesting would be a great idea, so that way it makes sense, right? You have your primary, secondary, and then melee slot. It would be amazing, and yeah, I think it would help out quite a lot. Alrighty, bonus clips. We're going to talk about the throwing knife quickly. I'd like to cover this more. However, when you throw the throwing knife, it doesn't go where the cursor is, right? And you throw it and it goes off to the left, or it's not dead center, so it's incredibly hard to test it out, so I cannot provide clips on that specifically. Nevertheless, we also have a clip here of the Pacifier in use. When you're targeting enemies, it does a great job in terms of stunning, but it needs a lot of work. Just like some other weapons on the list that have recently been buffed, it needs some work. I think the Pacifier needs to be useful. It's great to an extent, but it's not as great as some of the other weapons. Overall, my thoughts are, I think it's a great patch. There needs to be some adjustments made. Perhaps they do not need to, like, stealth nerf things technically. You know, how they secretly nerfed some of the fire weapons to an extent. Again, it's not like they nerfed the weapons, but they kind of just figured a loophole around it. You know, by giving these Terminids more resistance to fire damage. I thought it was strange. However, you can let me know what you think about this video and everything we've covered in today. If you have enjoyed today's video, consider subscribing, turning on notifications, and giving this video a thumbs up and tapping the hype button. I appreciate your support, and I'll see you in the next one.